Hello guys, how are you doing? It's your boy Dave Partner. How are you doing? Now the thing is that so many people have not started their startup for months because they can't mentally come up with a name for the startup. Giving a name to your startup shouldn't be hard. It's like giving a name to your child. Even though there is some thinking that has to go into it, it shouldn't be hard. In fact, some cultures give you 8 days. You must come up with a name for your child after 8 days. And some people, they're so confused, they don't know what to call their child. They call it Junior. You know what I'm saying? Floyd Mayweather Jr. Guess what? Does it stop the child from succeeding? No. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is the biggest Floyd Mayweather that has ever appeared. You know what I'm saying? The biggest Mayweather name that has ever appeared. But his name is just a clone of his father's name. In fact, some startups are like that. At the end of the day, as long as your name is not offensive, it doesn't matter what you name your startup. Come on, give it a name, 5 minutes, and get into the work. In fact, the biggest indicator to whether you will succeed or not almost has nothing to do with the name. But nevertheless, there are some things you should pay attention to. Number one, give your startup a name that is easy to pronounce. You know, somebody sometime named the startup Abracadabra. That's what he wanted to name it. The investor was like, what the hell is abracadabra? Nobody's going to remember to spell that. Call it Amazon. That's how they started Amazon. Somebody wanted to name his startup. 2 guys, smart PhD guys. They're smart, all right? They wanted to call their startup Gaggle. Gaggle is the word for the longest number ever. The investor was like, what the hell is Gaggle? Change it. Somebody wanted to name his name Michael or B. Somebody told him, like, what the hell is Michael? Call it Michael. Now I'm saying, so a name that is easy to pronounce. Some people make the mistake of carrying a certain pronunciation that is in their language and trying to make it the name of their startup. Initially, it sounds cool because you can speak your language comfortably. What of the rest of the world? What of the rest of the world? All right. So if you carry some words, some pronunciations that are difficult, and put it in the name, you should be ready to have people stammering over it. And then there are some languages that are spoken more than others. You should respect such advantages, and as much as possible, you might want to name your startup after that. Remember that it doesn't really matter in the end, but if people are able to remember the name of your startup better and faster, then you will be at an advantage. For instance, I would name my startup something in English language, knowing that my startup might go global someday, compared to naming it some Bobo Tigbo, you know what I'm saying? Imagine that we give a startup that name. To someone like you, it might work because you know your language, and people within your language, it might work. But when you start looking at a white man, can a white man pronounce that? And you're hoping that someday your startup is going to serve white people. Forget white men. Can somebody in Ghana pronounce that? Can somebody outside your local language pronounce that? So you don't want to get into that problem where people see your advert on Facebook, they click on it, they go to your website, and they like your service, and then they go to sleep. Wake up tomorrow morning and they can't remember. They'll be like, what the hell is the name of that startup? All right. So you don't want your startup to run into that issue at all. Okay. So give your startup a name that is easy to pronounce. Now, if you're thinking of a name to give to your startup, you can think of what Mark Zuckerberg thought of. He one day built a platform that compares faces, all right? It's like a book. It compares faces. He called it what? Facebook, period. There we go. Before Facebook, he came up with Face Mash. It was simple. Like, coming up with a name for a startup is incredibly simple. You don't have to spend 10 years on it, all right? Now, another person that did it in Nigeria is Sheuna. He just called his name Naira Land. Everybody knows Naira. Everybody knows Land. Boom. You have a new name. And from there on, people started calling it. You don't forget, you don't tell anybody Nairaland and they forget. It's something that sticks. Another person is Dave Partner. You hear Dave Partner, you remember. Nobody ever asks me, what's that your name again? It doesn't happen anymore. So once people hear Dave Partner, it sticks. All right. Now, another thing, if you don't know what to call your startup, you can give it your name. Linda Ikeji. In 2007, Linda Ikeji was nobody. Nobody, what the hell is Linda Ikeji? Today, it's a brand. It's a global brand. You have Linda Ikeji TV, Linda Ikeji Media, Linda Ikeji Social, Linda Ikeji Blog, you know. But at the time she named it, it was nothing. So that's just to tell you that you can actually name your startup your thing, and it will grow into eventually a brand. So if you're totally confused, instead of wasting time on that startup, give it your name, all right, and stand by it. But you should know the advantages and disadvantages to it. Some churches are named after the founder, you know what I'm saying? So the actual name to a large extent doesn't matter. All right, it shouldn't be something that will slow you down. Now look at something else. You can actually name it the name of something, just one. Somebody called Java is a T, a type of T. Somebody called the programming language Java. Today, Java is one of the most popular, the most widely used programming language. But it's called Java, the name of a tea, a type of coffee. What of Apple? Apple is a fruit. Somebody named it after a technology company. Or no, somebody named the technology company after a fruit. So you could look around your window, anything you see, you call it, call your startup that. Now, one mistake that people make is that they want to tie their startup to the domain name. It's usually a mistake, even though it's cool to have your domain name and your startup the same thing, but you might make a mistake. For instance, one thing many people don't know is that if you're not ready to buy a domain name, don't go and search for it. The moment you type it into that website where you want to check whether the domain already exists, it's almost as if some village people are behind waiting for you not to buy. If you fail to buy it within 1 hour, by the time you check back, it's gone. Go and try it with any new name. Go and try it. So unless you're ready to buy a domain name immediately, search for it and then buy it straight up. Don't pause that process. They're going to steal it. They're going to steal it. You know what I'm saying? Another way to name your startup is to open a book. Look for an icon in that industry. Name it after the person. You know, somebody looked into a science textbook because he wanted to start electric cars, and he found Tesla. Named Tesla. That's like the name of a person that lived about 100 years ago. So, but that brings us to a point where another point I want to make. Look, if you're going to name your startup something, don't limit it. Think of the future. Today, you might be selling men's shoes. Don't call your startup Men's Shoes Limited. Because tomorrow, you might start selling female shoes, all right? So what are you going to do? You want to change your name then? It doesn't make sense. It's going to put you in trouble. What if next tomorrow you want to start selling shoes for pets? So you could call your startup Cool Shoes, you know, amazing shoes, awesome shoes, you know, Apple shoes. Look at your window, car shoe. No, anything that's passing, name it. Some people even look at the time. If you don't know what to call your startup, look at the clock. 1759, that's the name of your startup. Some clubs, go to club 10. You know, sometimes you just need to put a number of it's 360. Just put a number to the startup, boom. Take a popular name that represents what you do, put a number to it. All right, 37 Designs. You know? Then another way is to take a letter out of the word. For instance, Canvas. Somebody wanted to name his startup Canvas, and then figured out that, look, hey, it has already been taken. It removes one S. The last S at the bottom becomes what? Canva. It's one of the biggest design platform. Canva. What of Fiverr? What of Tumblr? Flipper? You know, these are things you can remove. All right, remove something from, and then boom, you have another name. So naming your startup shouldn't be hard at all. Now, one thing you need to make sure of is that somebody is not already answering that name. You need to check it in two ways. You need to check it on social media, and you also need to check it with your corporate affairs commission, all right? Whatever commission that is involved in registering companies, all right? In a country like Nigeria, there's a website for it. You go to the website, I think cac.gov or something. Go there, search for it on Google, then go there, and you'll be able to check whether somebody is already answering the name. Because if somebody is answering that name, you can't register that name. So if you go to social media, if you want to come up with a startup name, go to social media, go to Facebook on the search bar, type that startup name to see if somebody is already answering it. Another page. One of the important reasons why you need to do that is because you want the name of your startup to be uniform across social media. You don't want to be answering one thing on Twitter and then another thing on Facebook and another thing on Instagram. No, just make sure that name is clean at that point so you can register, create accounts for it throughout. All right. So I hope you're not going to find it difficult to name your startup after this. Thank you very much. See you guys.